In this video, we're going to learn how to add a table to a database using PHP. So first of all, before we add a table, we need to connect to the database. So let's just copy the code we have used before to connect to the database. Okay. So if we refresh that, okay, we can see that we are connected successfully to the database. Let's remove the variable dumping statements. We don't need it. Let's refresh. Okay, so now we managed to connect to the database. And now we are ready to create our table inside our database. Okay, so now let's just add an H3 before this so that we have our page structured in a nice way. So I'm going to call this connect to database. Okay, and then we're going to add another piece of code saying create table. Okay. Okay, so if you refresh, that looks better. So now to create our table, first of all, we're going to create a query. Okay, so this query, we're going to store it in a variable SQL. Okay, and then we are going to execute that query so that we can create our table. So the query is going to be create table. Okay, and we're going to choose a name for our table. Task. Or let's just call it users, for example. Okay. Just one thing to mention: the SQL keywords, they are case insensitive, but it's good practice to write them all in capital letters. Okay. So create table users. Okay. And now we are going to put the names of our columns, okay, inside brackets like this. Okay, so let's start with the first column. So we want to call it ID, okay, and we want to give it a type integer. So you can write that right after the name of the column. And then if you want to specify the length, we can put the length inside brackets. Okay, like that. And let's go for 4 characters. Okay. So we can add properties of this column right after. So for example, if we want this field to be a required field, which means it doesn't accept any null values, so we need to specify that saying not null. All right. And also, if you want to make this a field as a primary key, we can write primary key as well. So again, primary key means every single record is going to be identified using this primary key. Okay. And also, if we want to add the auto increment property, we can just write auto underscore increment. Okay. So to separate the fields, we're gonna use comma, and now we can move to the next column. Let's name the next column username, for example. And we want to give it a type char. And inside brackets, I can specify the number of characters. So the maximum number, I'm going to go for 30. And also, I want this to be a required field. So I'm going to write not null. Okay. So every record has got to have a value inside the username. Okay. That's what not null means. All right. And then let's have a last name, for example. Or let's have okay, rather than username, let's call it first name first, and then last name. And it's going to be exactly the same, so same properties for the last name. All right, and then let's add email, and they want the email to be a varchar. And we can set that to 30 characters max. The first name and last name probably we only need 20 characters. And finally, let's have a password field, and we're going to give it a type varchar with a maximum number of characters 40, for example. Okay. Okay, now we're going to run our query. So we're going to use the function mysqli underscore query to run the query. And it's going to take as first parameter our variable link, and then the second one is going to be the query, which is the SQL variable. Okay. And what we want to do, we want to check the outputs of this function. Okay. So you're gonna place it inside the if condition. So if that's successful, it's going to return an object, and you're gonna echo, for example, table users created successfully. Okay. Otherwise, else, we are going to echo for example, error, and then we can say enable to execute, and then we can write the variable SQL there, and then we can add the error string there using the mysql underscore error function. Okay, and this function takes as a parameter the link variable. So if we try, okay, before we do that, let's just make sure that everything is correct. So we created our SQL query. So our table name is users. So you've got the first field, you give it a type, 4 characters max, we give all the properties, right? Then the second field, char, and then last name, then email, and then password. Okay, and then we run the query. Okay, fine. So let's refresh. Okay, so the table has been created successfully. Now we can see the table users there. Okay, so if you click on it, you can see all the fields that we have created using PHP. All right. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to learn how to populate this table using PHP.